Hello and thanks for watching this video. I'm Massimo Poesio and I'm presenting work on aggregated crowdsourced and automatic annotations to scale up anaphoric annotation. So, as the title says, this is work on creating new resources for anaphora/coreference. Although we are now in a good situation in this area, we do have some reasonable size corpora, particularly for news like ontonotes and for scientific tests like craft. The largest corpora are still 1.5 million words, which is good but not really large enough. We also need more diverse corpora. We need corpora in other languages. We need corpora for dialogue as well as written text, for genres other than news and scientific documents. And we also need a better distribution of documents, not just short documents. The points highlighted in red are the ones on which we focused in this work. So regarding scaling up, there has been some previous work. There's been a lot of work on using crowdsourcing, in particular using games with purpose. But even the largest such corpora are still much smaller even than the more traditionally annotated corpora. There's also been some work using data augmentation or automatic annotation, although this work tends to be focused on specific aspects of anaphoric reference. The solution that we propose in this paper is to combine these previous approaches. So a hybrid between automatic annotation and crowdsourcing. This idea is inspired by work done on the Wardrobe platform from a few years back, which wasn't, however, properly tested, in part because not enough judgments were collected from the crowds, in part because of the lack of a method for aggregating anaphoric annotation. So our contributions here are two. A new method for combining crowdsourcing and automatic annotation that we call resolve and aggregate, and a new data set, the third release of the phrase detectives corpus, which was created using resolve and aggregate. It's so that it has now about the same size in tokens to ontonotes, but twice the number of markables. And has a few other advantages as well. It covers genres not covered in ontonotes, fiction and Wikipedia, and contains a good number of long documents as well. Now, as a context, let me just say a few words about the game with a purpose that was used to collect the crowd judgments, phrase detectives. The phrase detectives project has been going on for almost 15 years. It was designed to collect multiple judgments about anaphoric annotation. It is a one-person game, not timed, includes a number of gamification issues, such as points. And over the years, more than 60,000 players have played the game, collecting something like 5.4 million judgments for about 400,000 markables, 13 judgments per item on average. The scheme used for phrase detectives is a slightly enriched version of the scheme used for ontonotes, in that singletons are annotated as well as non-referring expressions. And there are a few other augmentations as well that we will not discuss here. But the one point that is important to discuss is the speed. Over these years, we have been collecting something like 400,000 judgments a year, slightly more than 1,000 judgments per day every day, which is not bad, but at this rate, it will take us 40 years to completely annotate the documents in the original set, and something like 300 years if we want to completely annotate a corpus of larger magnitudes, like say 10 million words, which is clearly too much time. So by using the method that I'm going to describe in a moment, we have been able to create this corpus, the third release of our corpus, which I'm going to describe quickly now. So this corpus contains all the 800 documents originally uploaded in the game, which makes it more than 3 times as large as the previous release of Phrase Detectives. 1.4 million tokens, 383,000 markables. The most important feature for us is that it contains multiple annotations per markable, in fact around 13 annotations. Other interesting facts is that there are 2 main domains, fiction and the Wikipedia documents, and neither of which is covered in on the notes. Now of the corpus, something like 70% of the documents were completely annotated by our players. However, we do have crowd annotations for the majority of mentions, or the near totality, 99.4% of the markables. And so these annotations are the basis for the completions carried out in using the methods proposed in this paper. In addition, the new corpus also contains a revised development set. The test set from the previous release is now available as development set, and it has been completely re-annotated using the ARAO guidelines, including, for instance, ambiguity annotation. But in addition, we created a new test set, twice the size of the previous test set, balanced between the 2 domains and also annotated according to the ARAO guidelines. The results that I will show later are obtained using this test set. So you can see here quickly a few figures. The other important point about this corpus is that it contains about 30% of the documents are longer than 2000 tokens. What this means is that it is possible to use the corpus to test the effectiveness of models for training from long documents. You may have seen previous work by Beltaghi et al. In which such a model, the long-former model, was compared with Roberta, and they found that generally speaking the model yield better results than Roberta, but not for coreference, because all the documents in OntoNotes are short. So resolve and aggregate, our new approach, is an iterative approach, combining aggregation and resolution. So start by aggregating the player's annotations from the complete documents using our method for aggregating anaphoric annotations called MPA. We use this corpus to train a coreference resolver we developed, which can also resolve non-referring expressions. And we use this coreference resolver to get predictions for the entire dataset that we call train full. So basically we use the resolver as another player. We then aggregate the player's annotations and the system predictions for the entire corpus, obtaining a new version of the corpus we call train full. And we use this new version to retrain the coreference resolver. We run it again, we aggregate the new data, and so forth, until we see no improvements over the development set. So, does this method work? Well, we trained a coreference resolver on different training set. The training set for the previous release of the corpus, PD2, the training set consisting of complete documents, the full training set with crowd annotations only, and the training set with completed using resolve and aggregate. And as you can see from the following table, the result is that the model trained with the previous version of the training set is outperformed by the model trained using the completed documents, but this is in turn outperformed by the model trained on the full version completed with resolve and aggregate. Notice that if we use the version the full train full documents but using only the crowd annotations, the performance actually becomes worse. And we see the similar pattern for using the test set without singletons, so the Connell kind of configuration, and for resolving non-referring expressions. Regarding long documents, this table shows that we did achieve our objective. So our data set is such that you can see improvements in performance using models such as Longformer that are trained for long documents. And you also see a small improvement in performance on short documents, so that overall this model outperforms Roberto. So in conclusion, we've made two main contributions: a new iterative method for speeding up crowdsourced annotation by combining crowdsourced data with automatic annotation, and a new data set which, thanks to resolve and aggregate, is now comparable to Ontonodes in terms of tokens, but contains datasets from genres not covered in Ontonodes. The corpus is freely available from the Universal Anaphora site. And thanks for listening.